All right, welcome to Stampscapes Lab, or the Stampscapes Lab. We're doing some examples on how to model grasses. It's not really just kind of modeling grasses, but it's just kind of the video that I did, the live stream with these two pieces, it's really how to model forms, okay? This just happened to be grasses where we're working with primarily green tones and some brown tones in those greens, to get some variation within the forms, okay? But you can apply that to anything. It could be trees, it could be, something like this cloud in here where you're trying to keep those rounded forms in there by having some variations in value within those forms and areas, okay? So it's just about retaining some lighter areas. All right, so if you know me, I can't seem to just keep these pieces just as is. I just wanted that last video to be an exercise on, the retention of light within certain spaces. But these are scenes, so I'd like to kind of finish them off. It just kind of, it nags at me because when I start doing these things, it's like I can think of a way that I want to finish them off. So let's finish them off. Here, let's try to keep it relatively quick and easy right here. I'm gonna add in some additional greens in here, and we'll model some of these tree forms in here. I could do it in a kind of an autumn type of setting, but let's we're kind of in the springtime now, so let's keep it spring. Let's fill in some areas up here. I see I got real smudgy with my fingerprints and everything like that in that video. So let's just fill some areas in really quickly, and I happen to have my cloud out. I haven't been using my cloud a whole lot of late, but it is a really fun cloud to use. This is the Cloud Cumulus stamp, okay? After I ink it up, I blot off the edges around the edge. It's like going in 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch in the stamp, and pretty aggressive mopping off of some ink, okay? And then you overlap one stamp over the other like that. You get a nice kind of seamless, transition from one impression to the next. Here, I didn't mop it off there. I just added in some extras right in there. And let's see. I don't have too much water down here, but I'll show you what you can really do with this. In many cases, let's take this cloud stamp like this, and let's mop it off a little bit. Let's get a little cloud right up in that little peekaboo area of the sky. I did go into my trees with some of that blue, but, these are tonal stamps, so this is a lot of black tone in here. You can't really see. I mean, if I look close, I can definitely see some of my little blue in there, but that's not going to be a problem. Let's see, do I have an extra window in here or something? There we go. I don't know if that was showing up on the video or not. Okay, but now, one of the things that's really fun to do with this is, an example of what you can do here. I'm mopping off the edges, and you can flip the cloud. Okay, so it's like this. You can't really tell because it's just a little peekaboo, but I'm going to flip it around like this, and I'm going to get some of those reflections down in my water like that, okay? You can see I'm not being real fussy about placement and masking or anything like that. Now, I don't have a lot of big, huge open areas. I've already colored in my grasses in here. So if I went with a blue before coloring, I'll see a lot of that cloud in there. But if you're going to color it in anyway, it doesn't matter if you colored in before or after stamping this cloud. You know what I mean? You're not going to get this big, obtrusive cloud kind of showing up in there. All right. But that's just kind of a fun way to use your cloud stamps or any kind of sky stamp. You can stamp it in any kind of reflective type of area of your scene, meaning water, or if you're doing like an icy lake or something like that. Ice isn't quite as mirrored reflective, but it can be a little bit reflective, and you can do that in there. Okay. All right, now so let's go in here and let's start adding in some additional tones. This is a piece of glossy cardstock, and this one's a piece of semi-gloss cardstock. This one needs a little bit of kick, to kind of amp up the values in there, or not really the values, but the intensity. So I'll do something like that. Look at my ink applicators here. Just some rags, okay? And we're just going to do kind of a quick application of some additional tones in here. This one doesn't need really too much, but see this right here? I'm just kind of modeling, well, I'm kind of framing off the scene a little bit right here, but see, I'm kind of going into the clouds a little bit, and I want some of those clouds to remain nice and light, just as I wanted some of my grass to remain nice and light, because the grass is kind of, it's curved and arced, they're rounded forms, so just like my hand here, there's different areas of light and dark on it, so that's why we don't apply kind of a uniform application of tone over it, okay? There's lighter areas in here and a little bit of darker areas. If it gets confusing to you and you're like, I don't know where to keep it light, okay? Well, just darken in some of the areas that are already in the forms, okay? And then you can see these lighter areas in the stamp itself. You just kind of retain some of the light right on those areas. So you just kind of follow the clues of the actual image. I have light and darks in all of my imagery on rocks or in grass. And that's all you have to kind of look for, okay? It's not, you could alter it if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just kind of follow the lead of the actual designs, all right? All right, so this is some little bit of water down here, and you can see I'm kind of leaving a little bit of area light down in here. Let's go in with a little bit of tone in here, like this. I'll just use some alcohol marker right in here, like so. And then, let's come in here with a little bit of green like this. Now I used, just some ink on this right here, but you color in if you want to. You can color in with some alcohol markers in your sky just to give it a little bit more richness like this. But look at this, see? I'm keeping some of my clouds nice and light so that they're nice and, it just looks a little bit more three-dimensional like that. They're a little bit more rounded, and there's areas of them that are catching the light, just like in your grass areas down here. Now, if this was like a snowy terrain and it was, there were forms within the snow, then you can do all of this in blue tones, just like your sky up there, and it would look like a snowy terrain. Maybe the first snowfall or something like that, where it hasn't built up, several feet and it's just all smooth. It's like I don't know, whatever, first snow of this, winter, I don't know, something like that. Early snowfall. All right, so we have that in there. Let's go in and add in a little bit of extra kind of form and modeling into the scene. See these areas of some trees. I want to make them look a little bit more rounded. Yeah, I have a little bit of a light green and some white on the tops of my tree here. I kind of made a little bit too dark, so I can go in. If you ever do that, you just go in with your acrylic paint pen and you can add in some lighter touches right on the tops of those, deciduous tree forms. And again, it is already in the stamp design itself. So this is it's like an evergreen flanking this deciduous in here. And you can see the deciduous, there's lights and darks within there. So I'm kind of putting the highlights like on the top areas where it's lighter in here, okay? Just in general, I mean, I'm aiming for that area. If I don't get some of it on there, then it's no big deal. Some of these areas got a little bit dark in the background here, and you can kind of just bring them to life a little bit more with some acrylic paint pen. And the paint pens just, they look like rounded forms a little bit more because it's, you have the ability of putting a light color on top of a dark one. So you're kind of, you're not really retaining light, but just kind of reclaiming some light within these forms and objects, okay? So here's a white right here. I didn't use this in the live stream because I just wanted to go really fast. But these are little kind of refinements right in here that you can do. These can be reflections, or if someone sees it as, you know, kind of white flowers in the meadow, you know, either way. It could be some pearly everlasting or something like that. Okay, and kind of rounding out some of my tree forms in here, reclaiming, or kind of reintroducing the light, not reclaiming. And this adds that kind of little crisp little shimmer into it. Kind of brings the scene to life. Let's add a little bit of a... Let's add some, you know, it could be lupin or lupine, lupin or lupine. I always pronounced it lupin, but maybe it's lupine, I'm not sure. But some, this violet tone like this, and it kind of blends in with that green because it's roughly the same value, but it is a different hue. And kind of makes that grassy area a little bit kind of richer with, you know, another color in there. I don't know if you can see that. This one's, it's a little bit too dark here. So I'll add in a lighter version, like right here. But you can go with multiple tones. These are like the colors that I use if I'm doing like a bluebill, you know, coated forest floor, bluebell, I don't know, whatever, not coated, but carpeted forest floor, and it's really fun. All right. Now, I don't know, you'd usually kind of add in your little figures in here earlier. Okay, let me put this little rider in here, just to get a little bit of subject matter. I don't think I could stamp it out in a dye-based ink in here because I always paint pens and things like that. So let's go with our stays on ink. You know, stays on, pretty much stamps on anything. But it'll give us kind of a strong kind of visual focal point in the scene. Oh, here's my little tip on stamping out something that's walking in the grass. You kind of wipe off the bottom of their feet a little bit. It's like, how deep do you want the grass to be? And that's how much you wipe off the feet. Give it a stamp. Holding it down a little bit, you know, just to get that ink to transfer. And there we got this really fantastic going out, you know, and writing in the springtime, early morning maybe. And we have that. Look at that carpet there. That, you know, that grassy area in there. I think the grassy, I mean, our visual, you know, we're going to go straight to that horse and rider in there, but kind of the star of the scene is the grass. You know, it's the grass can be just some filler area around, you know, an object. You know, the viewer's eye is going to go to that cabin. That's kind of the star of the scene. But when you see this grass kind of come alive like that, you know, with variations and different values throughout it, it's undulating and illuminated and kind of sparkling. You know, these grassy areas can be as exciting as something like, you know, like a water's surface, you know, looking at like a moon over the water, or, you know, shiny, sparkly water during a sunset or something like that. You can make your grasses, you know, kind of, you know, really shimmer like that. Okay, so let's try this one right here. Adding in some blue tones in here, even in the reflection, I'm going to try to retain some area of light within those forms like that, okay? So even up here in this little peekaboo area of the sky, I'll try to give a little bit of variation, you know, with a little bit of bluish tinge in there like that. Okay, and you can see how this blue kind of filled in this whole area down below like that. Look at how it makes those clouds kind of stand out like that. All right, now this is something that you wouldn't expect me to do, probably, if you haven't seen me do this before, but I'm going to add some of these blues into these trees. And I was mentioning the live stream, it'll kind of give the trees and blue area of the sky and water a little bit more continuity than just using the blue exclusively in those areas, because blue is a component of green. Even if it wasn't, you know, you can add a really light value of something into your imagery. And even if you can't see it in the end, it's like, well, why do we add the blue in there? You can't really see it anymore. It's kind of a foundation. It's kind of a base layer that creates a little bit of more of a relationship to the other surrounding area. So instead of this all being, say, green, this all just blues, you have some blue in here, and it's a base coat under everything. No, you know, it's not really so much a base coat, but it was blended in here over the top. But it just creates that kind of more continuity and just connection throughout the piece. All right, so this one right here, this is a piece of semi-gloss cardstock, so I can use my colored pencils on it, as long as you have some, you know, relatively soft colored pencils. These ones are the Prismacolors. I'm going in with a, yeah, it's kind of a lime green tone, apple green, I guess, specifically. I was telling the viewers, we need to kick this up and give a little bit more intensity. I was a little bit too light with it before, but we need to get, you know, a little bit more pop into it, I think. All right, shoreline right here. We'll get a little bit of a warm brownish tinge to it. Yeah, a lot of it has already kind of gone over with the blue, but so we have a little bit of a bluish brown in there like that. This is just one way to use these. Some people do very distinct separations, you know, and don't really blend their colors, okay? And it looks really fantastic too. You get these really crisp color schemes. You know, people aren't going to think this, but I'm a little bit of a kind of a lazy colorer, you know what I mean? So, I mean, this way works for me, but just being able to just go over everything, you know what I mean? And then I'm not super careful, and then I just go back in and I redefine things later on with the paint pens, because I like that texture anyway, so it's not like I'm having to do it to repair things, but I just like that texture anyway. So I just know I don't have to be like super careful with my coloring, you know, keeping one thing kind of separate from the other. You know what I mean? I just kind of blend everything together a little bit and then kind of separate it, you know, with the paint pens or something like that, you know, usually afterwards. Okay. I'm just scribbling across like that. I'm still staying within the forms, but a decent, a decent amount, but not, there's nothing exact about it. Okay. It also looks a little bit more free form when you're kind of coloring free too. But again, I like all kinds of different looks out there and techniques, and everyone seems to have a different technique. You might kind of follow along, and you know what I mean. If you want to just kind of learn something, or if you don't know anything at all, then you can kind of follow along with one of my videos. And then what happens is when people do that, they kind of get the gist of it, and then I see if they keep up with it, not too long after, you see someone's own kind of personality or character kind of develop out of that. And then you know what I mean? They have a different take on it. And that's always like really cool to see. And that's when they're kind of, it's like learning a song or something like that. You gotta, you kind of learn the notes. And then after you kind of learn the song and you don't have to think about it anymore, you kind of, that's when you can kind of groove with it, and, it's, I don't know, whatever, you can inject your kind of personality in there. All right, a little bit of a darker kind of with the, surrounding area with this little bit of a darker blue. And let's go to kind of a navy-ish blue like this, and I'll hit a little bit of these, the shore, where shore meets the water shoreline. You might say, hey, how do you know to do that? Well, it's darker right in this area right here. You see what I mean? So I'm just making it darker with this. Different techniques with colored pencils. You can use your colored pencil techniques, or you can blend things out with whatever Gamasol and all that if you want to. I don't really do that, but you can certainly use whatever techniques you enjoy. Employing into your scenes, or into your just cards in general. Don't have to be scenes. All right, so getting a little bit brighter with greens with a little bit of alcohol ink pen. Look how much brighter that is. That's not going to be that bright because it's going to soak into the paper, but you can get a kind of a little coating of it down. You could have just colored with your alcohol markers too, or whatever types of markers you like using. You can color on a matte piece of paper, with some pastels if you want. All right, so we have something like this. See all these changes in values? There's lights and darks within there. And again, don't get too caught up in like, oh my god, I lost my light on that tuft. You know what I mean? Just as long as there's some variation somewhere, it just makes it a little bit richer than not having it, okay? I mean, sometimes you can have variation right here, but all of this is just uniformly applied. You know what I mean? Just as long as you have it some area in the scene. But that area where there's variation, chances are it makes it a little bit more exciting of a surface, and that's where the viewer's eye will tend to go probably. Because the eye is going to look for something that's maybe the richest area of the scene, or if there's a focal point, for sure. All right, so this is my little white paint pen, and I'm going to go in and kind of highlight some of my rocks in here. My rocks got kind of green, but so be it. Around my shoreline right here. like that, kind of bringing out that shoreline a little bit. And you say, hey, Kevin, you know, how do I know how to do that shoreline? Well, see my shoreline right here is this like little illuminated line like that, okay? And see, I don't like to kind of, you know, I colored it in a little bit, but, you know, I got a lot of overlapping colors and things like that. But if I want that shoreline to come out, I just kind of hit it again. We have our white pen right here, okay? And let's see here. On the tops of my little tufts in here, where they're lighter, just on the top edge of it, I'll show you what this looks like right here. Put a few highlights. So we made the darker areas a little bit darker down here with darker media, you know, colored pencils or alcohol pens. Well, look at that kind of exciting shoreline now. Look at how that's starting to shimmer like that. Here's another rock right here. More tufts. And you can see those little tufts in my tree up here too. So we just add that texturing in there so it adds a little bit more texture. And it adds contrast and illumination, lighting, okay? Now, believe it or not, some of my trees in here, now this isn't about trees, it's about grass, but you can see my areas of my tree trunks in here. On the sides of my tree trunks, some tiny little details in here. I've just illuminated the side of some of these trunks in here just so they stand out against the background. So I can see those trees right here, and I just flip this upside down. It's easier for me to do this little stroke like this, kind of coming back. And I add in that little highlight on my trees like this. This often brings my kind of pieces to life like that, or at least my trees to life. And we have all these trunks in here that now stand out much better now, don't they? Yeah, right. Let's take a look in here and let me figure out, or maybe I don't have to figure it out for too long. I've been really enjoying using my horse in the water here. Let me see, did I use any colored pencil in this area? I don't think so, so I can still stamp this out with a dye-based ink if I want to. Let's go ahead and do that, I guess. There's a little bit of hesitancy because I was thinking maybe it should be with the, you know, the stays on, I'm not sure. Okay, now this right here, this shadow on this horse, and this scene right here, because it's really light down here, I'm gonna blot off some of this shadow right here, just so it stamps out a little bit lighter and maybe a little bit streakier in that water area, okay? I just want some variation in the shadow. And let's get that stamped out like so. I hope it's not too big for this scene. I could have stamped the smaller one. No, the bigger one looks pretty good, but look at that. See, that shadow is kind of like, you know, I wiped off some of the ink, but you can still see it down there. I wiped off some of this so it stamps lighter. It looks, you know, pretty mirrored in there. And again, it's just because that water was kind of so light. To begin, you can even color the shadow like a different color instead of doing it all black. This area down here could have been like a darker blue, you know, and that'd be cool too. All right, let's see if we can give this horse maybe a little bit more of a kind of an exciting environment. Let's add some of this purple like this. This is a big fat purple pen. I'll see if I can add in some big like bluebells or something like that. You know, everything is just like blue and green in here. It might be kind of a little bit more exciting to have a little bit of a, you know, a twist of you know, some color like we did on this one. But let's make this one a little bit more prominent here. If we can, I don't know. It's a little bit of a light violet here, so. But this is, you know, it's like a subtle carpeting of violet back in here. You can't see it at all in my video, I don't think, but imagine, you know, that this is all kind of purple underneath here. Close your eyes and imagine a, you know, a bluebell carpeted, you know, forest lakeside environment. All right, so anyways, I added it right down in here and around in there. But I think that should do it on these. So you can see some, you know, some pretty exciting grassy kind of areas on here. This one, by the way, is, you know, on the glossy again, and this one's on the semi-gloss, you know, more of a satiny type of look. You can see how shiny the alcohol pens are on there. But, you know, plus a little bit of the colored pencil. This is shiny right here because it's still wet. But we'll get this matted up and finished off here, you know, formatted into a card. This one right here, this is like perfect for some word stamp. I'm gonna check out a word stamp that I have. I don't have like too much space up there, but let's see what we could stamp up there and make this card a little bit more interesting. All right, I think I have a good one here. It kind of has to fit, you know, from a thematic standpoint, but it also has to fit in those spaces. I mean, a really good plan would be to kind of plan around a quote, you know, stamp a scene out accordingly, but a lot of times it's just like a kind of an afterthought. For me, sorry about my head getting in the way. But this one's about a good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. Lao Tzu. Okay, like that. I just smash that down a little bit on that side. It just says that, you know, this is not a machine-made card. It's made by hand. So that's how I rationalize that. But anyway, yeah, it kind of makes things a little bit more interesting, I think, from a whatever compositional perspective to fill that in there. This scene right here, there's nothing to, no word stamp I would stamp, you know, you can stamp something on a word stamp and put it over the top of it on, you know, a separate piece of paper, but this is just scene stamping for scene stamping, whatever, grassy scene stamping for scene stamping's sake, maybe. So there's our grasses right there. Okay. You can make for a pretty kind of exciting looking card, you know, just with the grasses. Like I said, the grass could be just, you know, some sort of filler type of thing, but it can also be a, you know, pretty significant kind of element within the scene in terms of your, you know, the viewers enjoyment and visual interest in the scene. It, like I said, it's a little bit more shiny, you know, shimmery with those little touches of the paint. You really got to take advantage of, you know, these types of pens out there these days. These weren't always available. There were white paint pens, you know, going back you know, some 30 odd years or something like that, but there's just so many more colors now. And I mean, that's one of the best parts about it. But another best part about these pens is they're so much cheaper than they used to be. You know, fractions of, you know, what these things used to cost. I don't know what this 42 pen set of mine cost. I don't, maybe like 2 or 3 years. It has been, I don't know, 2.5 years ago when I bought. I don't remember when I bought it, but I think it was less than $1 a pen. Yeah, those paint pens used to cost like $3 each. Just, you know, like the white ones or the, you know, the sets of pastels or something like that. So, and then I don't know, they might have been going down in price, and the quality of them is pretty amazing. But you know, just the ability to go in here and add that type of excitement. It's like visually exciting within that space like that. So build up your forms. By adding shading to those darker areas in there, and then add. Okay, here we go. And then add in some little highlights back into it. You can do this on, I don't know, almost 100% of your scenes. And it'll really kind of bring out some kind of visual excitement into the pieces. So the paint pens are like in these areas like that. They're not this big, huge undulating forms in here, but I did add in some little highlights on some flowers in here. You see these little dots within these flowers right here. Here's some little white dots, like at the tips of them like that. See that little flash in there? But that really adds in a nice little element in the scenes like that. So it's just, you know, this is all about, I call it grasses, but it's really about, again, it's about modeling forms, okay? And, you know, shading them, and then shading them in the darker areas and lighting them in the lighter areas. So shades usually on the bottom, and then lighting is usually on the top of the form. So not always, you know, you might have some side lighting somewhere, like maybe these trees in here are side lit. Here's something like that. There's not like a light coming up, you know, I didn't really shade, you know, underneath this branch or something like that. That's, you know, it's too much tedium. It's a tiny little thing in there. So it's just really fun to go in there. Oh, see these trees right here? Here, let's do this right here. So I couldn't just avoid those tree trunks in there. So you just color away accordingly, and then, you know, come in here like this, and you know, you add in, you know, some of these trunks back into your things like that. And maybe that's too much. My pen's like really flowing like super well. Right now, that's like too crazy right there. Okay, I added a little bit too much. So you just wipe it off like this, okay? All right, so yeah, some trunks, a little bit of lumen. That's like really light. My pen's like really super flowing now, so. Okay, that's a little bit better like that. It'll darken up a little bit because of it dries a little bit darker. Here, let me see. This pen's really flowing because I've been using it here. The more you use it, kind of the better the flow. At least the Artistra is okay. There's a lot of other good ones out there. All right, there we go. Super shimmery. Grassy forms, model your grass textures and focus. Oh, my camera these days. I think it used to be a little bit easier to focus in, or change focus in here a little bit. But anyways, just view your forms, see where the shadows are on them, see where the lighter areas are, darker down below. Keep this light up top, or add a little bit of tone to it and illuminate it with your pens, okay? You can do it both ways. Oscillate back and forth. It could be in the same scene, but, you know, just keep an eye on those lights and darks, and you'll get a really rich, you know, carpet of grasses, sedge areas in there. And again, it'll make your pieces, really shimmer with that type of foundation, I don't know, whatever base to all of your different objects out there. All right, thanks for watching. Hope this video came in handy. And thanks as always for tuning into the Stampscapes channel.